Calvary Church. I'm Dianna. I'm an addict, alcoholic, and a child of God. And that was a great job, Amy. It just brings tears to my eyes and my heart to just see how God works. So thank you. And I don't know if I could do any better what you just did up here, so thank you. So our series is Temptation and Inspiration. And I'm going to talk a little bit about temptation. Temptation is often seen as a necessary byproduct of freedom. Without the ability to choose an alternative, even a harmful one, acts of loyalty or virtue would have no real meaning. It acts as a spiritual gym, where the muscles of self-discipline and faith are developed through resistance. The Big Book discusses temptation in several sections. It mentions that avoiding temptation isn't the focus, and that trying to shield someone from its ineffective. The book emphasizes on spiritual growth and reliance on a higher power as the key to managing temptation. And in James 1:2 says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life." In Corinthians 10:13, as he assures us, "No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear." A little bit on inspiration. Ultimately, inspiration exists to shift someone from a state of apathy or routine into a state of heightened activity. It breaks through the mundane to provide a clear vision of possibilities, whether in personal pursuit or professional endeavors. The Big Book talks about inspiration in several places. Page 86 through 88 discusses asking God for inspiration and intuitive thoughts when facing indecision. Isaiah 40:31 says, "Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength." And Timothy 1:7 reminds us, God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but a power of love and self-control. I'm going to tell a little bit about my story. I grew up in Santa Clara with three sisters, three of us girls. Had a dad that loved us immensely. Had a mom who wished she hadn't had children. And she was very abusive. And for some reason, she was extremely abusive towards me, physically and mentally. Growing up, I just felt like I didn't belong. I just didn't feel like I was part of this family. There was just this huge hole. And we used to go to Catholic church, and I realized that church wasn't for me. But down the street, my best friend was going to a Baptist church, and I wanted to go with them. So on some Sundays, they would take me, and I got to meet a personal Jesus, and I got to find out who talking to Jesus and just being my friend, and he became the person that I would have little conversations with at night in my bed, and he'd be my little friend taking care of me. I was hoping that he would just rescue me. Well, unfortunately, temptation stepped in. And at 11 years old, I found myself still in a bottle of Bacardi from my uncle's house at a big Christmas gathering, and went down the street to meet my cousins, and we drank that bottle of Bacardi and took a hit of acid. And I was in awe. That hole was filled. And from that moment on, I was out there running, and I was running hard. At about 15 years old, I ran into a guy that was in my life for several years that was physically, mentally abusive, caged me, raped me, tied me up. I went through hell. And I remember one time in a car, he had beaten me so bad I had seen stars. And when I escaped from that car, we went into a car accident, and that car almost rolled over my head. And that's when God came to me. I felt a gust of wind, and he pulled me out from that curb in that car that had me squished on Monroe and Scott coming down that overpass. And I saw God, and I jumped out. I just remember him grabbing me, and I saw him, and I said, "I saw God," and people were coming everywhere. You're in shock. But I knew I saw God. I knew in my heart that God had touched me. However, there was temptation again. I was off running. I was in the disease so bad that in my 20s, I too was slamming dope. My dad had died. I was 20 2 years old. My husband was in San Quentin, and I was home with 2 kids, and I was slamming dope. Was 90 pounds. I didn't come out of the house for like a year, and I was trying to die. And I picked up a Bible and said to myself, God, please help me. I don't want to live like this anymore. For some reason, I walked across the street to the church called the Home Church in Campbell. And when I went there, these women said, welcome, we've been waiting for you. And it was my introduction to Christianity. I can tell you that I went to church, I went to Bible study, I got baptized, I didn't drink or use during that 3 years, but I didn't know that alcohol was my problem. I got back out there in the disease of drinking, and there's temptation all over again. First a little bit of inspiration, and then right back to temptation. So back there in the disease, I'm just drinking Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it turned out to be every day. Well, my last drunk is the only drunk I'm going to talk about, and found myself in the bathroom wanting to commit suicide, and the phone rang, and this guy said, we're going on a motorcycle run tomorrow morning, I'm picking you up. And I knew I had one last drunk in me. One last party, for sure. I put some Patron in a water bottle, got on the back of that Harley, and I was in a blackout all day. When I woke up from that blackout, I was on 85 and 101, standing on the back of the pegs trying to jump off. And the Hells Angels pulled over. They called 911, and I was taken in off 5150. Now, I know you people, some of you have heard my story before, and I'm real sorry for that, but it is my story, and it is all I have. But when the cops took me and I went into Valley Medical, there was something different this time. I had this empathy, this compassion towards all these ladies, and I wanted to help. And the doctor said, we're only going to keep you for 24 hours. Why don't you put down the drink and help yourself so that you can help others? And that next day, when they let me out, I Googled a meeting. I went to an NA meeting and said, that ain't for me. I want to do dope. I hadn't touched dope the whole time, only drinking. So I did go to an AA meeting. I didn't think that was for me either. I didn't know what was for me, but I know this lady sat me down and she said, do not get up, and I sat on my hands. And after the meeting was over, she said, you can't harm yourself and you can't pick up if you're sitting on your hands. Just come back for the next 30 days and get some time. And I did. I went to that meeting and met that lady, and she saved my life. I got 30 days under my belt. But I'll tell you, I met a hymn, and life shows up, but I did get a sponsor. I did work the steps, and I did Power, I did all these programs, but I got complacent in the program, and still something was missing. I then joined some other book study groups. I never gave up or I was always teachable. And when I went into a Big Book Awakening class several years ago, it was my second course with doing this Big Book Awakening, but this time I got this spiritual awakening that I cannot describe. And these ladies and men, we met at a house on Tuesday night for a couple of years, and we started reading the Bible, we started reading books on God. I got a whole new inspiration to God, and that just woke me right back up, and I just started feeling alive again. So even though I've been sober I'm 17 years sober now, I'm not going to lie that temptation is always there. It's not drugs and alcohol. It's behavior. It's sin. It's doing the wrong thing when we know what the right thing is. But I can tell you that my life looks differently today. Today I go to church every Sunday. I come here and be part of the Recovery Church, hoping and praying that we get the message out about God and how great God is. And I go to AA meetings, I go to women's meeting, I stay connected, and I just try to do the next right thing. And so my life does look differently today, and it is all because of God. I'm going to read a little bit about God-conscious living. God-conscious living is essential about weaving awareness of the divine into every moment of your day, not just during prayer, meditation, but while you're making breakfast, stuck in traffic, or even having tough conversations. It's like living with the gentle awareness that there's something sacred in the ordinary moments, practicing the presence of God. Fear manages behavior. Fear tries to make us watch, manage, and fix everything around us. Inspiration changes awareness. But when our awareness of God grows, we stop living guarded lives and start walking with quiet confidence. Christ changes how we see people and situations, and that shift brings freedom where control once lived. And in the Bible, John 14:23, anyone who loves me will obey by my teaching, and my Father will love them, and we will come to them. Colossians 3:2 encourages to set your mind on things above, not earthly things. And Micah 6:8 reminds us, act justly, love mercy, walk humbly with God. And Proverbs 3:5-6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. I just want you to know that I'm on fire for God, and it is because I'm in AA and because I am a child of God, it's a mixture of everything, and the work is never done, and it's continuous forever, and that's okay. But I can tell you that the opposite of addiction is connection, and anytime I lose connection, I start to feel myself with temptation, but I know inspiration's just around the corner. So I really hope that you got something out of my share tonight. I want to hear from all of you, and thank you.
What an awesome night. Awesome shares. Thank you guys, both ladies.